Hello, everybody. It's Tuesday, the 3rd of March. We got a lot going on here today, and we're going to get to a lot of it and all of it here today, so get stoked on that. If you're on Pilled, make sure we hit 5,000 gold pills. That would be fantastic. Shout out to everybody that's helping out. Shout out to everybody for the Super Chats yesterday on YouTube. That is up and running. Whatever you want to do, I can see your whatever comment you post. That is huge. So get stoked on that, and Rumble Rants are available as well. Make sure that you like the stream, you share the stream, all that kind of good stuff. I would really appreciate it. We got a lot of old school names that I'm seeing in the chat. Catherine, good to see you. Motorboat, your mom. Dims, that is hilarious. Delect, that is an old school name. I remember you. Big shout out to Judy the Lady Pug. Curious Cat, good to see you. Jack Attack 17, good to see you as well. Everybody on Rumble, good to see you too. So let's go ahead and welcome our good friend on Tuesdays, Mr. Brett Collins. What's up, brother?
What's up? How you doing? I see that the super chat is back. I haven't seen that in a minute. Wow.
Yeah.
That's just awesome. I know it wasn't working last Tuesday when we were doing the State of the Union, but that's good.
Yep.
That's great. It's back. It's good to see that. I mean, it took only long enough to
5.5 months.
Jesus. 5.5. Well, it's better than, and then you think about all the years it took you to get back on YouTube. I mean, that's just, yeah.
So. It's good to have you here. We have a lot to go over. Thanks to everybody who hung out yesterday. We had a good show, and I hope you enjoyed it. But before we get into everything and anything here today, we need to go ahead and get into today's sponsor, which is Noble Gold. So let me go ahead and bring that up for you guys right now. As you can see here, the rules of money are being rewritten right in front of our eyes. The institutions that control the financial systems aren't waiting, warning, or even wishing. They are acting, buying gold and silver at an unprecedented pace. They are preparing for something. The question is, are you preparing? For nearly a decade, Noble Gold Investments has helped thousands of people protect their wealth with physical gold and silver. As the world shifts to hard assets, the window to act is now closing. Let Noble Gold show you how simple it is to protect yourself and others and with your family. While everyone else is reacting to the news, Noble Gold clients are positioned. They understand when the rules change, you need assets that don't depend on the system. Visit noblegoldinvestments.com or TRUreportinggold.com and download your free wealth protection kit. That's noblegoldinvestments.com or TRUreportinggold.com. If the mods could put that in the chat, in all chats, I'd greatly appreciate it. The rules are changing. Make sure that you're ready, and you can see right here, all you have to do is put in your information and tell them that True Reporting sent you. We would greatly, greatly, greatly appreciate all of that. All right, so a big shout out to Noble Gold. We thank them very much, and let me go ahead and get into this right here. All right, so we talked about this yesterday a good bit. I kept saying, I don't want to get bogged down in an everlasting war. I don't want this to happen. Bogged down is the key. And the second key to all of this, I do not want things to pop off here in America. 1,500 quote-unquote terrorists were let in through during the Biden administration. That is a low number. We have to also remember that the mainstream media says 10 to 12 million illegals. That number is probably 20 to 25 million. So when the media claims that there's 1,500 terrorists, I'm going to go ahead and shoot that up to about 5,000 to 7,500 to 10,000 terrorists in this nation right now. And I do not want us to get bogged down in this war. And I do not want anything, false flags, to take place in America. That's my two beefs with all of this. I'll let the rest subside. As we can see here on the big board above us, breaking, President Trump says that Israel did not force America into the conflict with Iran, says Iran was going to attack first. No, I might have forced their hand It was my opinion Iran was going to attack first. If anything, I might have forced Israel's hand. Let's take a listen to this.
President, did Israel force your hand to launch these strikes against Iran? Did that pull the United States into this war?
No, I might have forced their hand. You see, we were having negotiations with these lunatics, and it was my opinion that they were going to attack first. They were going to attack. If we didn't do it, they were going to attack first. I felt strongly about that. And we have great negotiators, great people, people that do this very successfully and have done it all their lives very successful. And based on the way the negotiation was going, I think they were going to attack first. And I didn't want that to happen. So if anything, I might have forced Israel's hand. But Israel was ready, and we were ready, and we've had a very, very powerful impact.
President, did Israel force your hand?
So the forcing of the hand, President Trump says no dice on that. If anything, I forced their hand. We read an article yesterday depicting that. It was pretty interesting. I think it was from the New York Post. Hell, I might even have it today. I don't know. Everything just kind of blends together. But there are notions that we might be stepping away with Israel. We might be going separate ways. That might be a thing. Israel is saying, no, we're doing it. See, they're the ones that are saying, no, we're pulling along the Americans, and once we're done using them, we're going to step off to the side, making us kind of look a little bitchy. And that is not the case. Let's just be honest. We are the superpower. We are the piggy bank. We are their big brother for sure, which I think a divorce needs to happen, but that's on me. I want to go into this before we talk about this, Brett, right here, right now. This is President Trump's take on it. This is Bibi Netanyahu. Let's take a listen.
And I want to ask you this, there are people that say, well, the prime minister of Israel dragged Donald Trump into it. And as somebody that's been friends with him over 30 years, nobody drags Donald Trump into anything, number one, but I want to get your reaction to that.
Demon.
Well, you're right. I mean, that's ridiculous. Donald Trump is the strongest leader in the world. He does what he thinks is right for America. He does also what he thinks is right for future generations. And frankly, we're partners in that effort because I've devoted my life to securing the life of the one and only Jewish state. And believe me, it's been a struggle.
So he's also saying, listen, but he also does that laugh at the beginning. I don't know what that means. This is I do not trust Bibi Netanyahu at all. So who's towing the line, Brett? Who do you think's towing the line? You think it's Bibi? Because there's a lot of Americans out there, and we talked about this before we went live, that do feel that we're just getting pulled along because it's Israel. Everything's controlled by the Jews. Your thoughts on this, besides the weather?
We need more of a divorce. We need a restraining order to go with that as well. I mean, there's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
My feelings about how I personally feel about Israel, that aside, nevertheless and nonetheless, how I see this going forward. And I had said on Friday on my show that I thought that the possibility of us being there for the eventuality that they might do something stupid, that we might have to do something first, okay, in order to prevent something that could be even more chaotic.
Didn't they pull the trigger first?
Yeah, I mean, look, the United States did. So I think
thought Israel did. That's what I
No,
read.
the Trump administration did. I mean, we hit them first, okay? Israel followed later on that evening, and they've been continuing on and stuff. But after other countries were responding or attacked because of the military bases in Qatar, UAE, and Saudi Arabia, and they put out a statement saying, hey, we don't mean to hit you and stuff. We're just hitting the bases there. It doesn't matter. This whole idea of creating this peace board of all these countries that are involved and stuff, the only way to do it, this peace, to get to the peace that they want, is to deconstruct Iran and its deep state, let's just say, puppeteer actors that are behind that. Whether it's Obama, whether it's people that are involved from the National Security Council, previously the former State Department. I would argue that it would be a global financial intelligence organization that uses and traffics the oil as a rat line and for currency, and to keep the infrastructure rolling and flowing through North Korea. You see in Latin America, Venezuela. That's why I think this is more about oil. This is more about cutting off the financial and global amounts that are funding this in some way. There's also an argument, I would say, that the presumed and alleged untraceable billions that Obama had flew to Tehran, the 1.7 billion, were moved to underground networks. These shadow emissaries, through proxies of third countries, embassies, passed the money over to IRGC generals and commanders. And they were operating out of Switzerland, Qatar, these banks. And I think that the perpetual, never-ending war conflict scenario that was set up was to what? In the Middle East was attributed to and to rationalize for defense spending, defense budget, surveillance, and population control. This was never supposed to end in any way. So when President Trump in 2016 ripped up the IRGOC, so to speak, when he ripped up that, he basically said to them, he's like, no, we're moving on in a different manner. And him having a speech January 2020 saying, look, this whole thing that's taking place in Iran, he was foreshadowing us that this is not going to continue and that we were going to have to do something. My only concern was that I thought that as I looked at Israel, is that the escalation was going to grow in order for Trump, this administration, the United States, to make sure that the region doesn't explode in some nuclear world war. And I think so, because Israel has a lot of nukes, that they were going to nuke them. I really do think so. Tactical nukes, all these different places. And that was going to cause a lot of collateral damage. And I also believe that in some way the region would explode. So the United States realized after we cut off the rat lines from oil by getting Maduro out, we were doing the same thing with Iran. And I think that being there 4 to 6 weeks, as President Trump is suggesting, that's under the 1973 agreement. All this stuff doesn't matter. He's got 60 days to move on this conflict. And I think that whatever's going to be there, like if you think boots are on the ground, absolutely. I actually do think there are clandestine operations, JSOC, many different Delta Force, looking for information, trying to find out what information that has been gone underground, find out any information that they may or may not have. I mean, we're told that we can hear them breathe. I mean, we're told that left and right. So I'm not completely devoid of the idea that the reason why we hit them is to accelerate this, to force them into a submission, but to cut the oil off, because this really is about China. Venezuela provides China 3 to 4% of their oil. Iran provides them 10 to 15%. So if you cut them off, okay, and you stranglehold them and the global operations, this in some way, this puts let's just say some type of foot on the neck of these people, stranglehold. So any other future operations, whether it's in Taiwan or there's another scenario that could pop off with North Korea or anything like that, that these people are going to be cut off from a financial access. Because a lot of this money that we saw in Venezuela with these shadow ships, these dark ships that were floating out that had, no tag numbers, no serial numbers, nothing, no destinations. They were going to ports of cities, and they were using and smuggling operations and transferring this for part of this rat line. And I do believe that's one of them. And I also think that this Iran thing, Syria is next. A lot of the money that a lot of people aren't talking about, Damascus. You think about the rat lines in Damascus and where some of this money went to, too, that was operational. So we don't know how far this goes into. I mean, we've been bombing Syria left and right. So I'm not going to argue that this just ends with Iran. We have to see the bigger picture on this. Now, whether you like it or not, it's irrelevant at this point. I mean, if you thought in some way the war was going to be fought behind the scenes in the shadows and it was never going to come into the open, then you're fooling yourself. All right. And again, on my show, I was also making the point, as you're attributing to right now, that I would suggest that it's not about pro-MAGA versus the shills. There's a lot of people in between that are supportive of President Trump, but you do verify, you question, you ask questions. There are a lot of people that are not knowing what's going on. They're not understanding. It's not just about freeing the people of Iran, bringing down a regime getting rid of a theocratical, apocalyptic, suicidal regime that if they did have nuclear weapons, there was an eventual future that they would probably use it and hold us hostage or hold our let's just say our allies hostage, Saudi Arabia. And Saudi Arabia, we know for a fact, with Israel, asked us to do this. Whether President Trump says this or not up front, it's regardless. It does not matter. The nexus of all this is really about cutting off the money, cutting off the wealth, cutting off the oil, cutting off the rat lines, and making sure that the enemies of Russia, China, North Korea, what have you, in general, I can even argue BRICS. You can throw Venezuela in there in some way. Cut this off. So now it doesn't hurt our financial wealth, doesn't destroy the dollar. Look about how the Dow is just dipping left and right. It was 700 points. It was down today. It was almost 1,200 when I was looking at it. I mean, you're going to see how the market's going to be reflexive. The idea that people think that gas is not, let's just say, in some way, a part of this based upon the Middle East conflict. Well, I'd say right now you're wrong. 43 to about 48% of the crude oil that is, let's just say, that is refined, that's really clean and stuff, that is shipped out through all these areas and stuff, affect gas at the pump. So you could see the $10 to $30 increase. Yes, it does work like that. Okay, and each state is different on how it's managing this out. But you'll see some prices in the short term rise. And I know there are people bitching and moaning and stuff. Oh, my gas is going up because of this. Well, yes, in hindsight, it is. And the speculation, the volatility, it's all because of that. It's not 100% because of that. And I understand why people are so pissed off and angry. But I think people need to be patient. They need to relax about this. I'm not happy with what I see, and I understand, but I'm moving along with it because the 48 hours is up in my mind. And I'm comfortably not numb, but I'm comfortably okay with some of the Marco Rubio talking points of what he said. But he did give out a hint in some way where he did make it perceived that it was Israel that forced our hand, when I don't think he even said that. And I think that perception management that has been overshadowed by many articles out there, Tom, are making people say, see, again, we're in another hot war because of Israel. And believe me, I don't like the state of Israel at all. I think we should not be funding them at all. We should not be bringing weapons anymore. We need this cut and divided out, a divorce, a restraining order, this peace regent that's going to go in place. The only way for it to survive and to move forward for a future peace in the region that includes Turkey, UAE, Qatar, to bring Israel in this and to let's just say reorganize, reconstruct Gaza and make this what they want, they all have to be on board. And the only way they're on board is you move Iran out of this. Maybe Iran in the future could be a part of it if you have a new regime, if you have a democratic regime that is not willing to kill its neighbors. And I think overall, if you go back to the 1970s, the 1980s, throughout the 90s, the first Gulf War, and then the 2000s, Iran has been involved with many elements of killing Americans, whether on the battlefield or in Lebanon or in Libya or in Iraq. And so is it justifiable? Is it time? Yes. Is it time? Yeah. Is there a coincidence of this time at this moment should have been done 47 years ago? Probably. How many presidents came before? Even Reagan didn't do anything. Everybody loves Reagan, but he didn't do anything. He pulled the troops out of Lebanon after the embassy bombing. Sent a couple of planes over there. Boom, boom, boom. Look, Hillary Clinton with Barack Obama, they organized the takedown of Libya, Gaddafi. And they only did it for what? Because they were going off the dollar, the petrodollar. So they were going to go like Iraq with a gold standard or some way, a new currency. They're like, no, can't do that. So in order to change this in some way, things have to move forward. We're coming out of the shadows into the forefield of seeing all this right in your face. And yeah, a lot of people don't like it. They can't handle it. They feel that President Trump has betrayed you, but he's already told you he was going to do it. I just don't like how pro-MAGA, Tom, and then the shills that are on both sides of this are over here condescending, saying, if you don't toe the line, you're not MAGA. And then over here, the shills are saying, well, then, you know what? The bottom line is Trump lied to us. It's all Israel. And if that's who you stand for, then you're part of the old guard, you're neocons and whatever and stuff. And I disagree with both arguments in a lot of ways. I think there's a lot of people like myself and maybe you that are in the middle that are still moving forward with Trump. I'll vote for him again. But I'm allowed to question, critically think about how I feel about this, what is going on, so I can understand this, so I can explain this to my audience, so I can process this. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. But people are coming out of as condescending, Tom, and I don't like it at all. And you know what I was talking about before we started the show.
Yeah, I don't want that either. I mean, if you can, go back to when we all started this up and everything like that, it was about thinking for yourselves. It wasn't being told how to think. I don't know when people are starting to stray about this. I think you can have an opinion on both sides and just stay in the middle. And an opinion, we all have them. I think that that's the God-given right that we've been handed as Americans, is that we can have our own opinion. And I don't like this biased standpoint of now we're just, you're an enemy or you're a friendly. Like, come on. Like, what are we talking about? What, you're going to tell me how to think at this point? Nah. That ain't good enough. I'm sorry. No one's going to tell me how to think at all. So that's a shame that that's happening in this movement and everywhere else. Let me go ahead and get into this as well. You made some great points. Here's more on with President Trump.
See what happens. A lot of people are coming forward. A lot of the people you would least suspect want to quit. They want to have immunity. They're asking for immunity, and probably at some point they'll be dropping, as you would say, laying down their guns. We'll see what happens. In the meantime, we're just continuing to go forward. Our military is the number one in the world by far, and we are. Everything's big in my book. Venezuela was big. This is big. The original hit, Midnight Hammer, was big. Everything you view is big, but it's not considered very big by some standards.
So again, as you can see, the Iran regime, they're basically, at this point could be begging and saying, we'll put down the weapons as of now, but, I don't know if that's a scenario. He knows it better than any of us, where we stand with what's going on in the war. 4 to 5 weeks, we're supposed to be out. Bibi says could be longer than that. President Trump has said it could be longer than that. It all depends on how quick we can.
Well, he's got 60 days. He's got 60 days. He doesn't want Congress.
When did this 60 day? When did this
the War
come out?
Powers Act, 1973. I mean, under that, then Congress would have to get involved under Article 1, Section 4. I would suggest in some way people go look it up, even though I think it undercuts the office of the presidency, not the person in charge, but the office in general.
I have that article, by the way.
And I'll just say that I think that we have to be patient about this. We don't know what's taking place. I mean, they haven't surrendered yet. So we don't even know who's in charge. I mean, there's so much lack of information, whether it's on the ground, okay, or just coming in general, and so much speculation around what we can ascertain as information that we're being handed to by, independent journalists, mainstream media, or what we're finding off the net in different channels in different ways. It's not like we're getting a backdoor of information, definitely not from the administration, although I thought that Secretary Hegseth yesterday and Marco Rubio did a fine job, a better job than President Trump, explaining all this, but that was their duty to do so. And I think they proffered a very good point of view about how this military operation is being conducted. And you know what? Fair to say, it was good in general. I understand that. Hit them before they hit us. I got that. But I also think that this war is about peace for the future setting. And I do believe that in order for this peace board to expand and continue for the revitalization in the Middle East, in Gaza, in that whole area, Iran has to be deconstructed, and that's what's being done. But it's more than just that, all right? The threat, whether it was real or not, whether we can ascertain it, it's not like they're coming out. Here's the stuff. There's a lot of people who just don't believe that they had, Witkoff is out there, speaking, saying they have all this stuff. We just don't know how much of that money of these rat lines and underground tunnels, biochemical weapons, or anything that they have between Syria, Damascus, Tehran, and the and their areas in general underground, that we can suggest that these things were imminent. Were they direct threats to their neighbors? Yeah, but I don't see Iran hitting Saudi Arabia, EUE, or Qatar, IUE or Qatar, because they weren't going to do. I think really it was about threatening Israel, getting us involved. And I think that just by threatening them in general and provoking Israel, the concern might have been there. It's a possibility. And I think it's a great possibility, because I think they were going to tactically nuke. And you can't kill all these innocents. If the idea that 30,000 to 50,000 innocent protesters, dissidents that you call them, in Iran were being executed, being slaughtered, okay? And, Trump says, don't worry, be patient, we're going to be there. And now you have all these people in New York, L.A., Miami, all over. I've never seen so much of a positive love and support, not for Trump, not for America, even pictures of Bibi and Israel. It's crazy. Yes, are all these other things going to happen? I know the Austin attack. I know there was a shooting in Canada. Are we worried about sleeper cells? Yeah. You know what? Yes, I'm worried about it. Obviously, but the question is, can you find the nexus between sleeper cells terrorists, or is this just some lone nut acting on his own in some way, similar in the fashion of when the trans shooters could be? Don't get ahead of yourselves, but don't be surprised we're going to see more uptick. And that's what people are saying. See, he shouldn't have done this, because this is what's going to happen. We're going to have blood in the streets. You are having blood in the streets already. You have people protesting in North Carolina against the administration, okay, of doing what they're doing. But you have thousands of people in L.A. and New York and all over supporting America, supporting Trump, that are Iranian Americans, maybe even Muslim Americans, supporting what they did. It's crazy how NATO and all these other countries are in favor, Tom, of what President Trump. And where is NATO? You have the NATO commander basically saying, we're all in support, but where are you helping us? No, we don't want your help. We don't need your help. Spain is basically, you're not allowed to use our bases. You see how France, Macron, and Starmer came around and said, no, you can use our bases. You can. We're okay with this now. And I think it's some way. We're on our own no matter what. We're always on our own. And you're right. This last time around, this is it. And I think the divide, the separation between the United States and Israel is going to come at this moment. Once we put this beast to bed, there's nothing they can sit there and bitch and complain about that we're scared about. The boogeyman is going to come and get us anymore. No one is going to want war anywhere else. If this spills over to Syria, I wonder why. The connection is there, and I have stuff on that.
Yeah, it's time for Israel to fly the coop, for sure, to leave the nest, because we're done playing Big Brother. And I think that's what President Trump is saying. We went over that yesterday. Go back and watch that episode if you'd like, episode 35. Hit that up. This is episode 36, obviously. Guys, again, if you want to help out, make sure that the super chats are working over there on YouTube. Thea, thank you so much for the back-to-back cookies over there. Jack Attack as well. Judy Ladybug, really do appreciate it. Let's hear more from President Trump.
It's coming out 35,000 over the last 3 weeks. Protesters, 35,000 violently killed. So these are bad people, and the leader of the pack is gone. And as you know, 49 people were taken out in the first hit, and I guess there was another hit today on the new leadership, and it looks like that was pretty substantial also.
In the 80s, I think.
So they're getting hit very hard, and we'll see what happens. A lot of people are coming forward. A lot of the people you would least suspect want to quit. They want to have immunity. They're asking for immunity, and probably at some point they'll be dropping, as you would say, laying down their guns.
So that was the beginning of what I was talking about before, about these people want immunity. They want out. They don't want any part of this because their regime, their leaders are dying left and right. He was saying the first hit took out 30-something, 40-something. I believe the second one took out 88 or something like that. They're losing people left and right, and boom, I was right on this. Absolutely. Right here, as you can see, 88 members of the Assembly of Excerpts were targeted as they were casting ballots to select the next Iranian supreme leader. It's from Channel 12. 88 members taken out immediately. These missile attacks are so precise and so advanced. I don't think we have anything to worry about there. That came out about 9:40 this morning, which is a good thing. Also, we could see right here, the building of Iran's Assembly of Excerpts in Qom, south of Tehran, was destroyed in an airstrike as its 88 members were covenanting to select a new supreme leader, sources tell Israeli media. I mean, it was just, they're literally holding right there, boom. They're in there, ready to go. They're like, well, we got to, we've lost our first candidates. Let's go on to the second rung of the ladder of these candidates, and then doom, gone. They're gone.
No one gives a breakdown.
How do they know they're having these meetings? How do they? I mean, we are so advanced in. They're a powerhouse. Don't get that twisted. Iran is a powerhouse, but again, I think we're just so advanced with our weaponry, with our surveillance facts on that. I mean, again, the answer is right there with our surveillance and weaponry. We know when they're having these meetings. We know through probably the Pentagon and
Israel has claimed that they hacked.
Yeah,
they've hacked multiple. They hacked the whole facility of Tehran, of all the cameras in the whole city, of all the street cameras and everywhere. So they knew the movement of the Ayatollah and many people around him. And they also hacked all the other information that if these people are assembling, I mean, how stupid can they be? The question is, we don't know who these 88 clerics are. We just say 88 clerics, okay? Use the term supreme leader. Who are these people? Who are they? What are they? What do they represent? We have no understanding.
It has to be part of a lineage because they're also taking out the wives and stuff as well.
Right. There's something much more, I think, that a lot of people need to really go into to find out what these people are, who's really behind them. I don't think people really understand the deep dark that's really behind the rat lines of Iran. It's not just the higher ups, the clerics and all this stuff. These people were fortified, put in place, into position, and they were protected for a very long time to continue on this never-ending conflict in the Middle East. The viable threat that would escalate $1 trillion of military budget surveillance and other things. So they kept this going for a long time. That was Obama's dream. We don't know who was involved in this. We don't know how much connection Obama has to them. We know that he gave, the idea, I don't know why reporters are not asking the question in the White House, the Oval Office, or in general and saying, would you not argue, Mr. President, that the $1.7 billion transfer to them, paying them to do this and all the stuff that went here or there, or we don't even know where it went, is that not treasonous? Is it not seditious in some way? You're paying them a bribe, but they end up taking that money and being used against us. Did he know that? Did he have the knowledge of? I think there should be more responsible journalism.
If it's apparent to us and it's apparent to these journalists, it's what Obama's well aware of that as well. Jason says over on YouTube, who the heck would even want to be the next leader? You'd be next on the list to be taken out. It's true. It goes right along with what Brett said with the surveillance and that Israel is basically locked in their security, hacked it to see where the Ayatollah was. I'm sure that goes with all the other leaders as well. And that's what they do. They are very advanced as well. And that's how they're able to keep an eye on these people and take them out very, very quickly. Again, if help out with the super chats over there on YouTube, see if it works again today. That'd be great. And keep helping out with the gold pills. Let's do it. From Liberty Nation News, you can see here Iran. Is it just a war or another quagmire? This is the thing that we're all talking about. There will always exist Americans who, however, well or ill intention, will oppose war in any form at any time with a stubborn consistency. Others can be counted on to support almost any contemplated military adventure, no matter how risky. For the rest of us, going to war, especially starting one, is propositionally entirely dependent on the circumstances in play. And we so find ourselves at a historic inflection point, another of those crossroads in the world history. And unlike the 7 men who preceded him in the Oval Office, from Jimmy Carter to Joe Biden, President Donald Trump has chosen to take the road less traveled. Operation Epic Fury in Iran is, like all wars, a road ripe with unforeseeable potholes, far from the comfortable superhighway of denial, delay, and appeasement driven by presidents for over 47 years. But will it lead us down the road to a lasting peace or a dead end? You have to think about how is Iran different from Iraq and Afghanistan. With 2 failed wars already in the books in the first quarter of the 21st century, Americans have famously become war-weary. Very true. Though public opinion will likely fluctuate based on events on the ground. This is going to lead into these next 60 days, next 4 to 5 weeks, whatever it may take. We don't know yet. A lot of people are going to fluctuate within this community. The indications are that people are wary at the best of this latest conflict. Only 27% of Americans support this war, according to a flash poll from AP Nork, with another 30% saying that they are unsure. I mean, how many people did they poll? You have to put that in. Was it 100 people, 1,000 people? Who the hell knows? Are they liberal? Are they Republican? Nobody knows. This begs an abiding question. How much should the public opinion drive the process of the military engagement? To what degree should it become relevant to the White House's calculations? With his decision to take down the Ayatollah and his henchmen, the president is gambling on public approval as much as he is on the military's success, leading to many a question. With Trump saying that he is doing this for the future, how does the fate of Iran figure to be relevant to the lives of ordinary Americans? To me, I don't care. Is it worth losing even a single American? I don't know what toll we're at now. I think we talked about 6 yesterday, 3, 4, 5, 6 I saw. And what happens when the deaths start multiplying into dozens or hundreds? Didn't we learn a forever lesson in Vietnam? When a war to effect regime change blew up in our faces and brought the country low for years thereafter. Well, I will be honest. We all know that Vietnam was basically just a proxy war. It wasn't even a real thing. James, thank you so much for the 5 bones over there over on BoostTube. Doesn't that look nice? Everybody hit the like button on YouTube for that. For James out there dropping the 5 bones. Thank you so much, brother, man. Appreciate that. You and your wife. So again, we all know about Vietnam. We understand what took place there. We should never have been there. I don't know why we were there in the first place. I've heard everything from gathering minerals to stopping a portal opening. So, I mean, that's a huge, wide gap, folks. So,
the heroin trade.
Yeah, and heroin trade.
Oh, poppies. Oil,
A lot of stuff took place over there. A lot of stuff under wraps as well. I mean, go look at all the, the documentaries on it. I can't think of the gentleman's name, but he's done one on Vietnam, Revolutionary War, a bunch of things. I can't think of his name right now. But either way, is this going to be an everlasting thing? I pray to God. I don't think it will. But just letting you know where I stand. And, I do not want this to be a forever thing by any means necessary. I said it yesterday. I don't want to be bogged down, and I don't want FFs to take place on our domestic soil.
I don't think we can control that. I think it's going to happen nonetheless. I mean, regardless if this was to basically accelerate the war behind the scenes, that it's coming out now from the shadows. I think that's what we're seeing. We're understanding what this is. I mean, even people had problems with us going into Venezuela and plucking out Maduro and killing all these people of his Cuban guard. And people have a problem with what's happening, that we're going to take over Cuba. Yes, we are. I believe so. I think they're going to surrender. They're going to need our help. What does that look like? I did a whole show on that. I also consider that that is a very, let's just say, important island that we must have access to. And you know what? That's going to have a humanitarian point of view. It's going to have military. It's going to have a variety of different things, infrastructure, a whole host of stuff. Are we going to set up a naval port there? They're going to have to rebuild the ports. There are so many things that when you consider what's going to take place with Cuba, outside of this, that affects us more directly. Now, what we can glean from this and what we actually see in general and stuff, I think Venezuela and Iran are connected. It's about China. It is about Russia. And you notice where is China and where is Russia in all this stuff? The transactional war that's taking place, that everybody said that they would be involved. They're not involved. They're sitting on the sidelines. This is about a global financial intelligence operation that has been nestled into Iran, maybe in North Korea, if they've been liberated. I'm not sure if they've been liberated yet. But I think this connects to Syria as well. We don't know how deep this goes. There's a lot of biochemical industries that happen over there. Did anybody see last month that there was a prison that housed, I don't know, it was like 30 to 50 different ISIS terrorists that escaped? You know, how interesting that was last month. And here we are right now discussing this in some way. I'm no way saying that what we're doing I'm completely against. And I'm no way of saying that, did I see this going to happen in some way? Did I think that they were going to capitulate at all? No, I didn't. But I did see something happening, and I thought it'd be more with Israel starting it than the United States. And I think that was the thought I've always had, that we were there to buffer this. But clearly we had to move in some way to get ahead of this before it escalated, and we weren't playing defense, hence the name Secretary of War, that we're always on the offense. And I think that for far too long, we have to consider, you know, in the last 40, 50 years, as long as you've been alive and what you understand the world to be, it's changing, it's shifting. The paradigm of what we grew up with and we're understanding is shattering. It's no longer relevant. It does not play a part in our understanding. The military philosophy and indoctrination that we've been, let's just say, swallowed since 9/11 and the Iraq and Afghanistan wars, about what Colin Powell, I talked about yesterday, the crate and barrel argument, saying if you bought it, you broke it scenario, has nestled into the military fervor of the social engineered complex of our communities. And people think, well, oh my God, this is, well, we're going to go in, we're going to hit them, and then we're going to have to take control. And Trump's like, no, not doing it. Not going to see 200, 300. As Hegseth said, it's not going to happen. You might see clandestine operations all over the place to seek out what they need. They're looking for information, trying to find information. They're trying to get people to turn and flip. I guarantee there are people there. You just don't know about it. You'll never hear about it.
Oh,
and not just
sure.
us. Not just us. Many elements. You have to think about who overturned the Shah, the CIA. We don't know what deep, dark, black intelligence operation that was, you know, created as a splinter group, offset of the CIA and many other dark elements that operate in this world that we live in. You don't see it. And that they're participating. They're the ones that propped up North Korea. That's the ones who propped up Israel. Think about Israel and Iran. They're the same thing from different two viewpoints, okay? Deep, dark, created from the shadows. Same thing here with Iran. Overthrew the Shah, same thing. I mean, whether they've been flipped or not, or Netanyahu's been flipped, I don't know. I don't really care. I think at this point, our focus is on how fast we can get this done, whatever operation is going to take place, whatever installment of a new regime, temporary regime that will basically, help out and restore the infrastructure and the people there. Because, we don't want this to be Iraq. And I think that's already been set up. I think behind the scenes, it's already been set up. They're just waiting for the go. I don't know when the go is. When's the surrender going to happen? They're waiting for all these artillery installations and all these nuclear sites or all these other energy, all these things to be obliterated. Now, if we're told,
that goes into what we talked about it yesterday was this quote unquote big wave that President Trump has said that it has not happened yet. I don't know if they're scouring and they're using satellites or boots on the ground or whatever it may be to then do a quote unquote big wave of just decimating this regime that is holding these people prisoners. The sick thing is that where their weapon silos are, where their ammunition shelters and bases are, guess where they're next to?
Underground facilities,
Guess where
that we haven't gone to?
Schools. They're next to hospitals. They've done this strategically so that, guess what? When we hit something, and that was said yesterday, Marco Rubio reported on it and was saying, listen, I don't know if this is true, but if we hit a school, it's like, is that on us or that's on them? It's on fucking them. It's not on us.
Right.
They don't care about their own people, so they've set it up, and then the left-wing news can go with it. The mainstream media can run with it. That this was a catastrophe.
But they're using this argument, Thomas, just like Israel did when they attacked, the Palestinians that were terrorists.
Yeah.
That placed their munitions in hospitals, in schools, and all these other things, and everybody went vitriolic on them for hitting schools, killing children, sniping out things, and doing things much more, let's just say, worse. So in some scenario, we're dancing along the same lines of that type of scenario that other people are pointing out on X and all these other areas and saying, but I don't want to hear people saying, this is the problem. This is what we're dancing. What do you want to do? It's like the old argument of what I said about George Carlin, is that pacifism is a great idea. All right. But, it gets you killed. It's a great line. It's true. We could sit on our couch all we want, blow bubble gum, eat lollipops, throw popcorn on our face, watch all this stuff. And then, we can make our arguments and say, we shouldn't do this. We should do this. We shouldn't do that. And shouldn't do that. We don't have the information at hand. But I think in some way that this goes back to the argument that I was suggesting yesterday about the blind loyalty test, about the idea that how we view these things, trust but verify. I mean, we've come this long, this far with President Trump. He's settled, 7, 8 wars? The Ukraine war could be the stalking horse of this. If this finishes well, I believe that the Ukraine war will end because of what we did. I think this is part of it. We don't know how many rat lines are connected with Iran and the global financial intelligence operation that is working with Ukraine in some way. You have to consider, does this connect to that as well? And could this bring an end to that war? It's something to consider. But I want people to understand, as I said, that the blind loyalty is only true loyalty, but more than a dangerous surrender of critical thinking, self-respect that enables negative and unethical, harmful behavior. Yes, you're allowed to question everything. You should be questioning everything, all right? And you should not be hindered and destroyed by big-name accounts, pro-MAGA, or even shills because you have a thought or a suggestion. And where that belies your position, all right, should not change how we feel. We're all Americans. We all want the best, and we all support America. And those who supported Trump will stand by Trump no matter what, including I, and mostly including you. But you should not be denigrated, destroyed, or attacked in any way because it's outside the bounds of the condescending people on X who've taken a mantra of I'm supreme MAGA, and anything you say that gets in the way because of what the shills have done, and yes, they have proliferated on X, and they have changed the narrative and discourse, and now you can see the mask coming off, and I get that. And I say this, no matter what, even if you're wrong, even if you're harming others, even if you're harming me, this is not based on truth, but based on person or tribe becoming the truth. I think that's relevant, that's important. True loyalty requires judgment. Blind loyalty forbids it. Preserving the relationship and not the illusion. Keep your eye focused on this. Don't be deluded by the idea of this side or that side. Stay relevant in the conversation, ask your questions, and be pertinent about how we see things unfolding, okay? I think that you should not sit out on this because other people are telling you to.
It's very liberal mindset to tell people how to think. I'll just leave it at that.
Or not to vote in 2026. When did we start doing that and tell people
It's a
don't
very
vote
liberal
in 2020?
mindset. It's gross.
Yeah.
Going back to what I was talking about, so very sad, but again, funeral procession begins for 171 schoolgirls in Iran's Manab. Attacking a school, here it is, right here, told you, right into it. As you can see, attacking a school is an attack on a nation's future. Iran's FM spokesperson Bakai has said, and you can see all this. This is just trying to fire it up. It's that's what they want to do. Just look at where they've positioned themselves, where they put in their weaponry. It's right there next to schools. It's right there next to hospitals. It's right there next to homes. It's a sick, disgusting thing, and it is for sure happening. So you can see all these people coming out to this funeral, which it sucks. Nobody wants to see that. But you're not going to, you're not going to sway me to think that this was a purposeful thing and we don't care about children. America most certainly does. Going back to what you were saying right here, and I want to say a big thank you out there, a boneless chicken with the phone. Thank you so much. I appreciate that, big dog. Thank you so much, a boneless chicken. The 1973 War Powers Resolution cannot block Trump's actions in in Iran. It's imperative that Congress, as you can see right here, good Lord, that's not what I wanted. It is imperative that Congress and the American people understand that the ongoing military operations against Iran are fully consistent with both international and constitutional law, and, unless undermined by Congress, could contribute to a new era of global peace and security. But if Congress, out of ignorance, cowardice, or partisan motives, decides to undermine the commander-in-chief and, again, invoke the War Powers Resolution, it could produce consequences that dwarf the horrors that resulted when the unconstitutional statute was enacted in 1973. When U.S. forces were clearly winning on the ground in Vietnam, I was there during the 5 of the last 7 years of the conflict, Congress snatched defeat from the jaws of victory by prohibiting the expenditure of Treasury funds to protect victims of the communist aggression. As a result, millions of people lost their lives throughout Indochina, and as it did countless more as far away as Angola, Afghanistan, and Central America. Indeed, Osama bin Laden made it clear his decisions to attack the United States on September 11th, and it was motivated in part by his perception that America was unwilling to accept casualties, a message the president's critics are again transmitting to tyrants around the world. From the start, the War Powers Resolution was a fraud. By a combined vote of 504 to 2, 99.6% of Congress enacted the statute expressly declaring that the United States is therefore prepared as the president determines to take all necessary steps, including the use of armed force, to assist any member or protocol state of the SEATO treaty requesting assistance in defense of its freedom. So again, Gallup polls registered 30-point increase in LBJ's approval rating around the August 1964 decision, and a 58 jump in the popularity. As the war escalated, the public and Congress continued to overwhelm support it for several years. Even if one ignores its constitutional infirmities, by its own terms, the War Powers Resolution permits this bombing. Article 2, Section 2, specifically recognizes the president's power to use armed forces without prior congressional approval following an attack upon the United States or its armed forces. Iran's long history of armed attacks against the United States dates back at least to 1983 with a terrorist truck bombing. that killed 241 mostly sleeping Marines in Beirut. An attack declassified intelligence documents clearly shows Iran had ordered that. So, Congress, I don't think you need to step in by any means necessary, for sure. And you spoke on that earlier, Brett.
Well, yeah, I mean, the Beirut bombing was brutal. I mean, think about it this way. As Marco Rubio and even Pete Hegseth laid it out about when he talked to the Warrior Ethos, that no American that will be left behind, that was killed, murdered, executed, whatever. There will never be a time. Did anybody forget the time back in 2015 when Iran intercepted a bunch of Marines and they held them at gunpoint, the hostages, and then they were released as a transfer and a trade? No one remember that in 2015. You don't remember that. I think in some way we have short-term memories of how we perceive things. We move on. Look at 9/11. 9/11 has become meaningless these days. Not for me. It will never become meaningless. It will become meaningless because we don't get to the bottom of it. Okay? Because we basically, this is another stalking horse, another fabrication, another COVID lie that just hangs around, a hanging Chad in some way, that just hangs around where we still haven't gotten to the truth of that. We haven't covered a lot of other things. We still haven't got the heart of that. I wonder how much this conflict that we're involved, military operation, perception management, whatever we're doing inside of Iran leads to some of that. I mean, some people are speculating Osama bin Laden went to Iran. I don't know that to be true or not. I can't confirm. I don't believe they killed him. I don't believe that the fake body that was thrown off, the ship.
I don't believe who killed them. I believe that's been called out.
Yeah, I believe that.
I never
Yeah, exactly.
knew it was that guy. I never thought
Right.
it was him.
Exactly. So again, we don't know what we don't know. And we continue on to say that what President Trump is doing at this moment, engaging, moving forward with the idea that he has the foreknowledge, he's seen the future. Whatever happened to the idea that we have technology to see into the future? When did that all disappear? When did that type of thought process that people used to use and talk about a certain letter of the alphabet that was prognosticated 10 years ago seem how it went away? I mean, the idea that this was not foreshadowed as something that was a harbinger that was going to take place, whether you expect that it was going to happen now or later, does it matter? Yeah, I think it matters. I think it matters. I think that whatever falls from this, whatever shakes from the trees from all this stuff, the information that's going to come out from this, and the reset in that region, it's going to be huge. It's going to be massive. And it's not like you can't wrap your head around it, okay? We're not going out there trying to murder. We're trying to save these people. They were going to get killed. The dissidents were protesting in the streets. I get this. This is not Iraq, okay? Yes, I saw them tearing down the Ayatollahs, and just like they did Saddam Hussein. How well did that work out? Well, we set up shop there.
Right.
They didn't like that. That's not what we're doing here. You can't set up shop in the Middle East, okay? It's just like you can't have 80 million Muslims in the continent of Europe. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. You can't have all these Muslim communities popping up in Tampa and in Texas and all these different areas. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. So again, if you're giving them an opportunity for all these regions, for these people to return home to the motherland, to the fatherland, get home, maybe this is the best way of doing it. This is the best way of doing it, by making sure that the dissidents that are Iranians that are living here, okay, Muslims that want to go back to a region where it's peaceful, they're not going to get murdered by the Jews or some other country or their own people. They're going to live in harmony and peace by their own, not by theocratic, suicidal, apocalyptic governments. Yeah, that's fine. But if you recreate and help establish a region where the free-flowing people that have come to the United States can return home to these areas that are prosperous, that are financially, that they can grow and prosper and live a life that raise their families and their children and practice their religious beliefs as they are allowed to do, that would be fine for me. Okay. And I'm open for the argument and the interpretation that when we send these people home or give them an opportunity, think about Cuba. How many Cuban Americans live in the state of Florida that would love to return home to help recreate a democratic government? Forget about being a republic, just something that's not communist, something that's not tyrannical, something that's better for their people overall, creating an infrastructure, creating a wealth, creating a trade route, creating a tourism group, creating something that's beneficial to the people that they could celebrate from their own heritage. Think about Marco Rubio talks about that from Cuban American dissidents that his parents came over from. So I think there is something there to be said about how, restructuring the Middle East in some way can bring a lot of these Muslims back to the fold where they don't have to be, let's just say, fearful of what it is. And we don't even know who these people are. A lot of these people are in exile that probably should be in jail the way they're acting on the streets of Great Britain for decades or longer as rape gangs in Ireland, as many other parts in Switzerland and Sweden. It's time to move on. We have to change everything in some way. If we don't do this, Europe's going to slide, and they're going to slide on their own. But the United States is on its own. And I believe that this is right. I think Thomas is 100% right. This is it. This is the end of our partnership with Israel as we speak. So I'm okay if this ends our partnership in some way, separates and divides us. The divorce is there. It's on the table. We're signing off on it. And we're going to get what? We're going to get some type of what? Some type of scenario that, a protection order. We don't want to deal with you. You're on your own. You're going to be fine now. You don't have to worry about killing anybody or blowing anybody up because no one's going to come after you.
You were speaking about this earlier. For the benefit of those on the right who are furious about the strikes as a violation of the America First principles they say they voted for. However, the response should be more nuanced and comprehensive. If you are Generation X and above, this is easier to understand. Your frame of reference begins in 1979, not in 2015. You understand that we've been in a direct conflict with that regime for most of all of your life. But if you're younger and your experiences with the Iranian threat tell you that this is more of a Jewish-Israeli problem, and if your worldview is being shaped by the revelations in the Epstein files and other harbingers of outsized Jewish-Israel influence on American policy, you're less likely to understand the long game here. You might take into consideration that the Arabs were, for more or less, the first time supportive of this effort to take out that regime, both because they understood that it was realistic for it to be deposed and that they saw a bright possibility for a prosperous future on the other side of its demise. That makes this much less of a Jewish thing and more of a strategic thing benefiting everyone. And that breaks all of that down. So,
excellent overview for American Spectator. You should put that in the chat. It's a great article. Another great article. They put one out yesterday. Excellent overview. I think that it really sums it all up. This was the only time. This was the only opportunity with the Abraham Accords and President Trump setting up this peace council as the UN is going bankrupt and people are walking away and no one's going to fund money in. They're putting up billions of dollars to want to set up a peace council that we're all contributing into to be a part of what? The stability of the regions, the security. We all have what? Something to lose. He's growing a partnership, not with just the Middle East. Russia is involved, many other countries. Canada's not going to be involved. There's a lot of Europeans that are not going to be involved. They got their own problems. He's setting something up, forging something for the United States with Russia, with Saudi Arabia. Israel's going to be on board. Many other countries are going to be on board. And it's about what? The sovereignty and protection of the region and its own independence of statehoods for a lot of people to make sure that we realign a certain global unit that's going to be outside of NATO, and I think we're also going to lead NATO, by the way. This is going to be the reconstitution of a new formulation of a NATO, not a North Atlantic Treaty, but something else, like a West Asia which is the Middle East, or something much more refined that is going to be part with Russia that Europe doesn't want, the UN doesn't want, but it will be the Middle East, Russia, and many other components. Maybe China will come in eventually. But at this point, redefining, resetting up the tools, the only way this is going to work is that you have to take out the most corrupt, vile, despotic, theocratic, apocalyptic, suicidal government out there. And when Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE, and Israel saying, go ahead, do it. And they're shooting missiles over there yesterday to the bases of American military, where they reside in those countries, embassies, where they reside in those countries, and saying and putting out talking points to all those countries, Tom, saying, hey, look, we're not hitting you, we're just hitting them. Yeah, that doesn't fly.
No.
That type of rhetoric is over. And I think this is a new dawn of a new day, and I think it's fantastic that I see a peace in the Middle East faster and sooner without Iran. And the faster we wrap our heads around this in some way, the better it is. So we don't have a future where there's a nuclear attack coming from a region that hit us when there's a governing body there to watch over us, to watch each over, to make sure that we're all part of a new protectorate. I think with the Abraham Accords, the Board of Peace, and all these other things that are set up, Tom, I think that this is something that we're moving as we leave NATO, as we leave the UN. And I believe that's happening. And this has to happen in order to get to the next level, whether you like it or not.
I have Marco Rubio right here. This dropped about 6 minutes before we went live. Let's take a listen.
Did we go in because of Israel? And I said, you asked me that, that follow-up, and I said, no. I told you this had to happen anyway. The president made a decision, and the decision he made was that Iran was not going to be allowed to hide behind its ballistic missile program, that Iran was not going to be allowed to hide behind its ability to conduct these attacks. That decision had been made. The president systematically made a decision to systematically destroy this terroristic capability that they had, and we carried that out. I was very clear in that answer. This was a question of timing, of why this had to happen as a joint operation, not the question of the intent. Once the president made a decision that negotiations were not going to work, that they were playing us on the negotiations, and that this was a threat that was untenable, the decision was made to strike them. That's what I said yesterday, and you guys need to play it. And if you're going to play these statements, you need to play the whole statement, not clip it to reach a narrative that you want to do, all right? This is your statement. This is your statement.
So again, the enemy of the people is 100% the mainstream media, where they're clipping what he's saying, keeping out certain specific things that can manipulate your mind. And it's awful that we are in this. No, Israel did not drag us into this. We went in under President Trump. But I saw articles yesterday from CNN, from Mediaite or something like that.
Information liberation, too.
Those were out there talking that we're getting yanked around. You know, we're getting dog walked by Israel, and that is not the case. So
no, I don't. And I put that out. I had that information liberation in the thing, and I parsed it out. He didn't say Israel. He said that they forced our hand. As Trump reiterated what Marco Rubio was saying, he didn't say Israel, all right? That we preemptively did this because they forced our hand. They, who were they? He was speaking about Iran. He wasn't saying Israel. He didn't say Israel. He made a caveat about Israel that people are saying that President Trump clarified today, and now you hear him again with the clarifications. No one's defending Israel. I mean, I just think that, look, you could be as much as verklempt as I am about the state of Israel. You could be angry and frustrated and disgusted with the state of Israel on every level you can. Just push them aside here. I truly believe that this is something outside of that in some way. There is a small window that I do believe that if nothing was done, this would have ended up in a nuclear war. I believe so without a doubt. So,
do you see Marco Rubio talking about that? He's like, well, we have our nukes ready. They're ready if you need us.
Yeah.
Oh, good Lord.
I know. I think that if we didn't intervene, and let's be clear about it, and I know, if we didn't intervene to settle this, to whether it's regime change or not, because that's ultimately the goal. You had to get rid of this. You have to make sure you break this down, break down the deep state apparatus, the global financial intelligent operation that is behind the scenes of Iran, and it goes back a long time. It goes back all the way through with the rat lines, just like Venezuela. There's an argument made that the foreign minister was there during the election of 2020 as it was going on. As it was going on, watching in Venezuela, them timely flip the votes all over the place so President Trump would not win. If that is true and they were involved, goodbye. That needs to be put out there. We need to see that. Is Maduro going to, let's just put it this way, stand by that argument? Or is he going to, are we going to find out that's true? If that's true, then you know what? I don't want to hear any more discussion from anybody. It's over. Don't talk about Israel. Don't talk about this. If we are to say that Venezuela and maybe other countries were involved, we know China is. President Trump puts that out there. What is that going to say to us and our future? Are we going to go to war with China if China was involved with Venezuela and Iran flipping our election? How are we going to what? How are we going to fight this war? Because the Chinese don't want a physical war with us. They do it every way they can, okay? They do it through trade. They do it through proxies. They do it through
viruses.
Sending their viruses. They also send their Chinese infiltrators to seduce Congress and senators, military officials. Bang. They send 600,000 students that as going to the Ivy League schools, and they're all fucking spies. Stop with all this stuff. We need a moratorium on our industry right now. Shut it all down. I watched Kristi Noem today. What I saw, she's getting her ass kicked by all these people and stuff, and she's pushing back. Look, they're not funding DHS, not funding Secret Service. They're doing everything they can to make sure that pop goes off, because the bottom line is nothing's being funded. If you don't know about this, so yes, the rise of the craziness is going to happen because they're purposely setting this up. They're making sure that they defund TSA, making sure there's an airport bombing, making sure that they hurt the FAA, making sure that they are. See, this is the problem with Homeland Security. All right, Department of Homeland, let's just say agency. Too many umbrella stuff is under this. We need to separate from what that is or shut it down. I think Secret Service should have its own agency, bereft of everything else. I know the FBI falls under the Justice Department. It should have its own agency. It should be maybe working with a paramilitary for the sole operation of protection of the President of the United States. All right. And then you can have one with Treasury or other things, or set up your own Treasury stuff. But I think the way I look at Department of the Homeland Agency in general, it's easy. Look what they were doing. They were spying on her. They had viruses in her phones and her laptops. They were infiltrating the whole platform of the agency to bring this down in so many ways. That's how they knew where they were going to be with CPB and ICE.
I have a thing for my friend who says this about Kristi Noem about yesterday. That stupid bitch Noem posted on Hillary during the GD deposition. All of the 17 nation people that were, within watching the post and everything, has been waiting for the Clintons to testify regarding Epstein for damn near 2 decades. And this C word wants to post in the middle of it and F it all up. So Hillary,
Lauren Boebert did that, not Kristi Noem, the Department of Homeland.
That's right.
Boebert did it.
So Hillary explodes when they could have gotten her on a better questions. She was so concerned about her social media that it ruined the whole thing.
Yeah. She did it to Benny Johnson, another hack, another guy who steals information, another one of these bad-in Luddites, one of these people in general that are part of the grifter class in some way. I've been calling out Bannon. I've been calling out his connection to Epstein. I've been calling out Benny Johnson. Why aren't other people doing it? But yet we're in some way and stuff, we have to walk a fine line. And you know what? My attitude is fuck it. fuck it. If you're all for President Trump, you're supporting the administration and stuff, you have your own discrepancies and your viewpoints about how you feel about what is taking place in Iran, what's taking place in the Middle East, what's taking place in general. Speak your mind. Don't let condescending pro-MAGA accounts shut you out. And don't let the faggot accounts, the fake shill
Not
accounts,
that word.
the fagga. I said fagga.
Okay.
F-A-G-A, not the other
Okay.
word. So what I was saying is the fake shill black pill accounts shut you down either. You don't have to walk the line between good and evil. You have to walk the line in the middle and set yourself up for what you eventually feel that you think that you can understand that is processing out. Don't take it from me. Don't take it from Thomas. Take it from your own point of view. Figure it out. Watch a lot of stuff. Figure it out. But don't sit there and be on one level or another, being condescending or being destructive in some way. And I think that's the problem. And I think that's why MAGA in general is imploding. It's because it's imploding by the people who think that they want to wear this with a badge of honor and then go down swinging against everybody who's against anything who wants to leave out critical thinking. And I say to all of them, they can get bent and F right off.
Speaking of China, this is from the New York Post. Trump hit Iran, but he's really got China in his crosshairs. Interesting. Iran's main oil export terminal in flames after Saturday's U.S.-led attack. China's energy lifeline is going up in smoke. And I saw that somebody posted something earlier talking about Trump's cutting off oil to China through Iran. To be sure, China was a cheaper customer, paying well below the going market price for Iran's bootleg oil. There it is. Not only that, it insisted in paying in Chinese yen, not dollars, ensuring the money would flow back into China. Beijing's slick sales pitches convinced the Iranians to spend their oil billions buying China's military and telecommunications equipment, like the, in quote, state-of-the-art radar systems that now lie in smoldering ruins after failing to detect incoming American airstrikes. Aha! But the decapitation of Iran's leadership and the destruction of its Chinese-made defense arsenal aren't the worst of Beijing's Middle East woes. Iran's reckless missile barrages have united the entire region against it, causing an enormous loss of face for its chief international backer. 2 years ago, China was riding high in the Arab world. In March of 2023, it brokered a normalization agreement between the Shiite Iran and its longtime Sunni adversary, Saudi Arabia. Saudi investment minister Khalid al-Falih praised the new Middle Eastern power broker. A multipolar world had emerged, he declared, and cooperation between the Gulf states, yeah, there you go, Brett, and China would be a significant part of the new order. A year into President Trump's second term, China's role in that new order seems to be shrinking by the day. It's not just that Iran, the anchor of China's Middle East ambitions, is now an international pariah, but it's also the latest in a long series of recent geopolitical setbacks for America's chief adversary. China's woes began soon after Trump returned to office, as his tariffs took a huge bite out of Beijing's predatory trade profits. Then, Trump took aim at China's inroads into Latin America, starting with the Panama Canal. He would then put the government of Panama on notice. If it didn't secure this vital strategic waterway, Trump would. The Panamanian Supreme Court has just terminated the leases of the Chinese company running the Atlantic and the Pacific ports, ending China's ability to shut down the Panama Canal at will. Venezuela was next. The famous raid that captured the country's drug kingpin also cut off China's supply of cheap Venezuelan oil. On top of that, it obliterated billions in Chinese-made military equipment and effectively ended China's influence over the Trump, I believe they mean the Rump regime, whatever that means. Then came Greenland, toward which China was already making overtures, asserting that control of the giant island was vital to the defense of the United States. Trump shrugged off the alarm of the European elites that tiny Denmark would be dispossessed of its colony. His heated rhetoric got what he wanted all along: effective sovereignty over the parts of the island needed for missile defense or resource development. This will surely encompass any areas that China might now or in the future cast envious eyes upon. Going into Cuba, with the U.S. cutting off oil supplies to the island nation of Cuba, the liberation of another key client state of China has just begun. It's almost inevitable that this story will not end with an invasion, but with a compliant Cuban regime eager to cooperate with the United States, pussies, if only to keep its lights on. And by the way, with another geopolitical setback for China, are you seeing the pattern yet? I think we're all seeing it. He's just going from country to country to country to country. Wherever they have ties in, it's being shut down. From Panama to Venezuela, from Greenland to Iran, the pieces of the puzzle are falling into place. Trump is thinking very bigly. As U.S. energy productions ramp up, China is not only deprived of cheap oil from Venezuela and Iran, but the ability to pay for it by printing renminbi. Beijing will be forced to pay full price for its oil, U.S.-owned refineries in, you guessed it, U.S. dollars. The effort led by China and Russia to replace the dollar as the world's reserve currency is now dead. As Trump strengthens alliances with Japan and other Asian countries, China is losing allies that can cause the U.S. problems and losing control of vital sea lanes too. Iran is not the opening act at the larger contest against China. Trump is already in the 4th or 5th round of dismantling Beijing's strategic architecture, whatever it exists. That's crazy. Again, yes, 4th or 5th round, going through all of these countries just strategically, boom, boom, you're cut off, you're cut off, you're cut off, you're cut off, you're cut off. What are you left with? Us. You have to rely on us now. Gold Elect, thank you for the cookie. Think Trump decided to deal with Iran while Russia is too paralyzed with the Ukrainian war to help. Decided to deal with Iran while Russia is too paralyzed. Yeah, I mean, I could see that. What I read, Hogleg71, thank you for the cookie as well. What I've read is that they're just kind of sitting back, but this New York Post article changes my mind. I thought that Russia and China were just sitting back because they're like, let them weaken themselves. Let them be preoccupied while we do something else, and then we can sneak on in. After reading that, my whole total mindset is completely changed. You're absolutely right, Linda Perina, 5D chess. It's very smart. I think he's working with the gentleman he always spoke to, that General Raisin Kane. He's back in there. They're getting down and dirty, and they're doing this very strategically, and I like it a lot. Anybody that wants to help out over there on YouTube, please help out with the super chats, and help out Gold Elect and Hogleg71 and everybody else that helped out. Boneless Chicken, everybody else, Jack Attack, Judy the Lady Pug, help out with Gold Pills. Every cookie counts. Every cookie counts. And every super chat counts as well. And Rumble Rant. Brett, your thoughts on what I just read? That was a great article.
It was. It really gives you, you know what, there's a mindset that I was thinking from that. Let's put it this way. Have we considered that China sold Iran broke back goods, weaponry, okay, under the guise or this false scenario of protection through a defense package for oil? Remember, they get about 15% of their oil. But what if they just sold them a bill of goods? Goods that were so ordered that were initially going to fail nonetheless. Consider that. Think about China drywall. Think about Chinese steel. Think about the John McCain. Think about what President Trump talked about, how they infiltrated our steel industry through Canada and selling us this mixture of fake steel. And so they were doing that to weaken us. But in this case with Iran, were they doing that to basically say, you know what? We're not really there to protect you. It's transactional. We just want your oil. Or were they doing it to set them up behind the scenes because there's an element of the Chinese government that is outside the deep state that are working with Russia and the United States to take down this global financial intelligent operation that consumes us all over the place. It's just the thought out there. There's another thing that's been floating around that a lot of people are using, the vax argument that President Trump has for a long time, I think, in the first term, and then during after COVID and stuff, take the vaxes, they're safe, what have you, and stuff, or during that time and thereafter and stuff. There are many people using this argument in some way to suggest that if the vaccine scenario or anything not dissimilar of what we're seeing today about the cheerleader class, without questioning the veracity of why we're there at all, and that the smug, confident, condescending pro-magna people who are basically attacking people like me or anybody else or anybody out there for making such ideological thoughts back then. And of course, I've never taken a vax. I won't take a vax at all. Don't take anything. I take supplements, period, the end. Don't take anything. I drink scotch. That's what keeps me alive. What I'm trying to tell you right now is that there is a position of people that are saying, Trump likes to put out a lot of military or perception management. I don't know whether or not that he was doing to tell people to take the vax until Bill Maher went there, until certain other people went there and saying, hey, the vax argument's not good. Tucker Carlson, other people and stuff, you need to stop this. Or was this set up as a fail-safe in some way, a straw man? And I think that the idea that the cheerleader classes out there that are pom-pomming all this and stuff are not really engaging in the realistic facts in some ways, that if that was scenario that was held today, the cheerleader class that are just streamlining everybody, they would be taking the vax. Because if Trump said today, just like he's in there and stuff like that with Iran, yeah, take the vax, by the way, it'll save your life. I wonder how many of those people, again, would swallow that and consume that without really, let's just say, plausibly genuflecting about how we see these things are. I think realistically, how you look at this argument about Iran is not so different or dissimilar about the vax argument, because we're in this discussion right now trying to figure out what are the, let's just say, scenarios, the byproducts. What is this? What is the fallout? What's the end game? Where are we going to go? How are we going to move out of this? Where are we going to move from this in some way? It's no dissimilar from the vax argument, because I believe that the people on X who are basically now divided us from the pro-MAGA movement of the condescension versus the black pillars, they're the cheerleader class that will go down in flames because they told everybody else, who even are pro-Trump people, you have to take this. You have to swallow this pill. You have to take that jab. You have to do this. They have now ended up being the very people they extolled, they attacked, they derided back in the time that you and I were destroyed when we were doing shows together all the time. Take the vax or you'll die. Do this or you'll die. I remember biking around in Delray and people like, take the vax, wear your mask and stuff. And I just wanted to shoot people left and right. Just
not literally.
No, I'm being figurative.
I know.
Of course, I'm like with a ping pong ball, with
a super soaker.
Yeah, super soaker. Well, what's the one with the pellet gun? Anyway, what I'm saying is that a paintball gun. That's what I was thinking.
Okay.
But what I'm suggesting is that I think that argument is kind of germane and relevant to what we're dealing with right now, because no one really wants to reflexively discuss as we're breaking down what we're seeing. And that article was a great article of seeing this. There are just people that are so pushed to both sides, Tom. They're not really generating a discussion as we're talking about how we can see what is taking place.
They're
I believe it's,
censoring.
yes, thank you. And I think that the rat lines of China are being purposely cut off. Again, I will make the argument that I think that if you consider that China made a deal with Iran to extract oil from them, 15%, and I do believe in some way they sold them broke back goods, a bill of goods, maybe goods that didn't work, and that was set up for a certain rationale.
Well, anytime I buy anything from China, it's a piece of shit. So
well, that's my point. So whether it's deliberate or not, That's my focus here. Always try to do that because they're not really selling the buyer a bill of goods that they want. They're selling them a bill of goods that's broken. And I think in some way, whatever they sold an arsenal of defense weaponry or offensive weaponry, it was just a bill of goods. And I think Trump knew about it. And I think that's the point that I was trying to make. I don't know if people are understanding the stream of consciousness that I'm trying to say here in some way. But I think that whether it was set up that we know about or it was purposely done because that's how they operate as a bunch of grifters themselves, because that's what I see China. The China labor class and what they distribute, what they sell is a bunch of grifting class. They're no different than what the shills on X are doing.
Garbage.
They sell you garbage.
Cheapness.
Thank you. Cheap.
Iran and Venezuela export most of their crude oil to China. China imported 17% of its oil from Venezuela and Iran last year. China imported over 5 million daily barrels of oil via the Strait of Hormuz last year. And this is from Politico. So that's out there. 1.2 million, 395,000 barrels, 1.4 million in Iran. Barrels per day. When it comes to this, when it comes to Venezuela, I don't think it was about. I think we just went in there, and everybody was. And I did see that President Trump has said that prices of gas are going to rise up, but once they rise up and this is over, then it's going to drop down lower than you've seen it in a very
right about 30%, about 30 cents. I mean, each state is different. Oklahoma's the lowest state typically of the amount because of state and federal taxes. And remember, you got to consider that. But yes, pure.
You know what else it involves? It also involves, and I've known this for a fact, where I used to live was right near when I was very close to Georgia. We were next to a pipeline, and that oil.
LNG or oil?
No, this was natural gas.
Natural gas. Okay.
This was,
LNG.
but to the gas stations and everything like that, it was considerably lower than if you were to drive 20 miles, 15 miles away. It was considerably higher.
Right.
So these natural gas pipelines, if you're near one of these, your gas is much lower. So if you live next to one of those or close to one, that's good. That's good stuff.
Yeah, but I think people need to understand. Just understand that it goes by state, pure crude oil, sweet crude oil, as it's called, easily refined and processed.
Black
Speculators.
gold.
Speculators that raise the nominal pricing that will affect your state. If you're in a state where there's a high tax on gas, well, it's going to rise. If you're in a state that's low tax on gas, you're not going to see a nominal change or in between. So the idea that, look, I live in Tampa. I mean, hell, the freaking gas is high no matter where I go. I mean, it's been at 330, 320. It hasn't changed. I mean, it's because I live in next out of Miami. Tampa's the most expensive city outside of that. And then you got Palm Beach, which is totally different. It's a small, different community. You got the island and then the city. But Tampa, how spread out it is, it depends on where you go and in the counties. You got to consider a lot of different things. So people to use the arguments like, well, this war is driving up gas. Of course. Yes, it does. It will. About 43% will change that affects the nominal gas rate. But there's much more provisions involved. It's not just the speculation. It's not just the state and stuff. It's about how much can you get in amount. Think about when a hurricane happens. It's no different when a hurricane happens and power is down and you can't get to the destination after 6 or 7 days. Of course, there's a spike in everything. You also have to consider fraud. You got to consider all these other things that people like to utilize to,
price gouging.
Price gouging to inflate all this stuff. So you got to consider a lot of it in between. It's not just one relative thing. It's a variety of different things.
Let's switch gears and change lanes really quick. President Trump calls out Tucker Carlson and Megyn Kelly over their remarks on the Iran conflict. President Trump has responded to Tucker Carlson and Megyn Kelly's criticism over the U.S. Military operations in Iran. Trump was recently asked by a journalist his thoughts on Megyn Kelly and Tucker Carlson breaking with him over the U.S. launching strikes on Iran. Trump shared that he is MAGA, not Carlson or Kelly. Woo! Yahoo News provided the full quotes from President Trump on his thoughts. The U.S. and Israel began striking. Let me go into these quotes. I think that MAGA is Trump. MAGA is not the other two. Trump said of Kelly and Carlson. MAGA wants to see our country thrive and be safe. And MAGA loves what I'm doing, every aspect of it. This is a detour that we have to take in order to keep our country safe and keep other countries safe, frankly. The president added that Kelly should study her history books just a little bit. Meghan was opposed to me for years when I ran the first time, and nothing stopped me, Trump stated. And so, some people are against it, and they always come back. She came all the way back. But now I guess she maybe doesn't like the idea of this war, but I do, because I have to keep nuclear weapons out of the hands of the Iranians. Regarding Carlson, who reportedly visited the White House 3 times in the last month to lobby against an attack, Trump said the criticism does not bother him, explaining that Carlson can say whatever he wants. It has no impact on me. Trump's comments came after Megyn Kelly claimed that the U.S. troops who died in Operation Epic Fury died for Iran or Israel. Wow. Let's take a listen.
Look, there are massive divisions over what we've done here, and people are going to change their minds over the coming days and weeks, one way or the other. But my own feeling is no one should have to die for a foreign country. I don't think those 4 service members died for the United States. I think they died for Iran or for Israel. I think I understand how this helps Iran perfectly well. I get it. I mean, I hope. Long term, we'll see. But they seem rather jubilant. 80% of the country does not support the Ayatollah. He was a terrible, terrible man. No one's crying that he's dead. No normal person. But our government's job is not to look out for Iran or for Israel. It's to look out for us. And this feels very much to me like it is clearly Israel's war. Mark Levin wanted it. It's his war. Ben Shapiro, Lindsey Graham, Miriam Adelson. That's obvious. They're the ones who've been pushing us into this.
Your thoughts on what she said, Brett? When it comes to Mark Levin, when it comes to Ben Shapiro, when it comes to Lighten the Loafers, Lindsey Graham, what are your thoughts on this and what President?
Well, it's not a vacuous argument that she's suggesting, because she is right to a certain level of degree. Remember, President Trump brought her out during the campaign in 2024, and she supported him. So she has come a long way. What I'll say to that, she is correct that Mark Levin and many other people of let's just say Israeli Jewish support for the state of Israel have opined upon this and pushed this scenario. Yes, let's do this, baby. Let's get it on. You heard some of them say, let's just nuke them, kill all the people. But that's how they are. So she is correct into a certain area to suggest that there is a level of certain people that wanted this, that pushed this. She's claiming that there are people in the administration like Witkoff and Lutnick, and saying there are Jewish handlers in there that
he's testifying tomorrow.
Yeah, that forced people into this position and to do this, and they're setting up their scenario for their people in some way to believe that this was an Israeli operation that President Trump found himself being cajoled into. That's their modus operandi. That's what they're running with. Tucker Carlson, which I find is a very different and distinct thing. Obviously, controller elements with his father back to the CIA, probably involved himself, not per se. But the idea that he is allowed to come into the White House quite a bit, I always find him as a straw man, as this person that purposely puts out propagandist viewpoints opposite to the Trump administration in regards to Israel, specifically about Israel. And I'm wondering if that's not on purpose. I'm not saying that the content and the delivery at the current moment wasn't on purpose, but I find it very odd in some way that we have a hard time of understanding and deliberating between perception ops management, military operation, fifth generational warfare, the way that we can actually transcribe. What if he comes into the White House and they have these private meetings? I need you to say this and do this and put this out there while I do this. Is it so off the mark in some way? Apparently, he's got quite a bit of access. What I'm saying is, President Trump can't say what Tucker Carlson is saying. President Trump can't say what Megyn Kelly's saying. And I'm not implying that he believes what they're spewing, but it's quite possible. It's very plausible. It's plausible deniability to say that, hey, you're coming in here. Go ahead. I'm going to present this argument out there and go ahead and give that defense in that manner for all these other people to eat up and swallow, even though it might be a deliberative false attempt to out fake MAGA or all these other people out there to toe a line that's not true. It's just one thing of subterfuge that I was suggesting. I'm not necessarily playing into the idea of believing that he's doing it. Do I believe that Tucker Carlson believes what he's saying in some way? Well, I think the interview with Mike Huckabee was quite interesting telling Mike Huckabee, the ambassador of America to Israel, saying, don't you think it's kind of odd that they're not allowed to take genetic testing in some way, DNA testing in some way to find out and determine and stuff? He's like, I don't know anything about that. And then he went on with certain other odd, peculiar stuff that, Israel does not want the rest of the world to say. What I'm saying is he gets access to the White House. He comes in there. We don't know what's talked about. And then he leaves and stuff in some way. And then he has this discussion, these rants about Israel and all these other things, which some of them, not all of them, make sense. You kind of question and scratch and say, that's an odd formality. And I think he's onto something in some way. I don't
agree.
always agree. I don't always agree with Tucker.
It's not a 100% thing.
But he might be a deceptive. He might be there in place purposely to be a deceptive shill, to operate in such a manner for that fifth generational warfare attitude or viewpoint. Do you understand what I'm saying? I mean, people are saying, well, why does he go to the White House and then he smashes President Trump and attacks him and stuff, and President Trump pushes back? What if it's deceptively planned? What if that is being discussed? What if in some way there's a collaboration in there? Or he's saying plausible deniability. Go ahead and write what you want. I'll be okay with it. Think if Tucker comes in and says what he says to him, and he's like, I'm going to say this, I'm going to say that. And he goes, yeah, go right ahead. And I think that's more logical. Go right ahead. And I'm going to say this. Is it possible that he's asking for, permission to do that? Why would you go to the White House? What are you seeking
3
there?
times in a month.
It doesn't make any sense. And so you have to question the veracity of understanding why he would be there speaking to the president in confidence, quietly, outside the media, and then go on
Getting
this.
people to think.
Or is he deep state, CIA apparatus, and then he's acting
I know what you're saying.
as an agent, and that
is he a message boy or is he literally just corruption?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. That's what I'm trying to throw out there. So,
well, yeah, I understand. That makes a lot of sense to me. Let's go to Kristi Noem really quick.
Accompanied alien children were lost by the Biden administration, not tracked.
Jesus,
we've
I didn't know she was that
about
pretty.
145,000 of them, and we've done that through the investigative work of our Homeland Security Investigations team.
The ice Barbie.
They are phenomenal at the work that they do, and they specialize in child trafficking, sex trafficking, and finding individuals that would perpetuate that harm against our children. The one thing that has been challenging is that under the Biden administration, the government paid sponsors in HHS in order to host these children. And those sponsors, many times, we found instances where they trafficked these children themselves. So under that administration, we not only had children that were in this country as a part of a program. The government was paying individuals that were knowingly trafficking them and abusing them. That has stopped. We have gone through and found these children and put them back with their families when we have the opportunity to do so, and with loved ones that will care for them. And I would say that even in one case, we have other countries where we've been working with them to get their children back home, where we've been prevented returning these families back and helping them to be reunified by activist judges. But we will continue to work to ensure that these individuals and these children that were abused by the trafficking over the border have the opportunity to be brought back to their families and to their loved ones going forward.
So breaking that down, as you could see, Kristi Noem just testified under oath that the Biden regime was paying child traffickers to sponsor unaccompanied minors across the border. Mayorkas and Biden should be in prison for this. The government was paying individuals that were knowingly trafficking them and abusing them. That has stopped. Unaccompanied alien children were lost by the Biden administration. Lost, not tracked. We've located about 145,000 of them. Paulie with the fleet. My gracious. Thank you, Paul. Paulie. What are your thoughts on this, man? We've located about 145,000 children. You're muted.
Is that out of like 300 to 400,000? I think there was an amount that Tom Homan and DHS Secretary Noem had put out. I mean, there's like another 150,000 that are out there floating that are, that have disappeared. So, yeah, I mean, the idea that, we're not putting people in cages, we're finding people, we're looking at this. I have my problems with Noem, especially her relationship with Lewandowski. I think it hurts the administration. I understand why they make fun of her, the Ice Barbie in some way, but she was a two-term governor of South Dakota. Ice Barbie, because of her beauty. Because, I mean, there's a lot of makeup. I mean, they doll her up. If you've seen her before, she was
never
playing
really
Jane,
paid
and
attention to her until now.
Now she looks like a model. She looks smoking hot. I think, look, this is a two-term governor of a state. So it's not like she's incompetent, that she doesn't have the rifle. I think that there been missteps? Yeah, there has been. I've been critical about her. The only part of this, but when I found out about how she broke this down to Patrick Bet-David, and there was a double ALT report and other things about how the administration in the Department of Homeland Security has been, let's just say, hacked. They've been monitored. They've been, let's just say, watched. To me. And I think there are elements inside from the deep state inside. And I always felt that the Department of Homeland Security was created in 2003. You think about Michael Chertoff was one of the architects of this. He was the second Homeland Security secretary. All right. And he was a dual passporter. All right. Remember, Homeland Secretary works out of the state of Israel. The guy from Pennsylvania, the governor of Pennsylvania, was the first one. I have a problem with this agency in general. I think there is a lot of duplicity inside of it. It's corrupt. I think putting the Secret Service under there, as we've seen over the years, has put the president's life in jeopardy. The former president, the current president, what have you. I think in some way that there needs to be a stranglehold in this, and maybe in some way this is a good thing that they're holding back funds. Maybe in some way we're doing this to out the dark element and deep state forces and actors inside the agency. And I would say TSA is one of them. I don't like TSA at all. We need to privatize airports. We need to privatize a lot of these different things, because there's a lot of darkness inside and around this. We found out about Minnesota, and then you have Indiana and Detroit, where gobs of money from Somalians are going into airports. Out of that, no one's tracking and tracing it. They just were able to pass security checkpoints. I mean, you get flat. If I was still living in Palm Beach, I would go to Tampa Airport. It's not that far from me, like 15 minutes to go there. I go through all this stuff and I have $10,000. They're going to flag me and pull me aside. How do you walk in with a briefcase with millions of dollars or a satchel and just walk on and sidestep all this stuff. You'd have to know people higher up in the state, okay, in the federal bureaucracy. So, I'll temper my expectation of how I feel. How they handled the shootings in some way, which were justified. First of all, Renee, she was no good. She got because she tried to murder an ICE agent. And, you try to run me over the car and I'll shoot you too. So she got. And then the other guy showing up to a rally who was showing pictures of attacking and breaking and kicking a car, a federal agency car and stuff, in some way acting like a crazy madman, shows up with a gun and then pulling out a gun and then they shoot him. I mean, what person shows up to a rally? Realistically, you're allowed to carry your Second Amendment right everywhere. In Minnesota, you weren't allowed to do that under their statute in Minneapolis.
You can't do it in New York. You can't.
No, you can't. You can't do it yet. You still can't do it yet until the Supreme Court rules on all this stuff. But the argument is, in some ways, that the independent, the way ICE was operating, I think Greg Bovine got destroyed. He was under such horrible, let's just say, pushback. There was no support from Homeland Security. They didn't have enough backup. Holman had to come in, kind of rectify this in some way. Did they tuck tail or did they give them direct threats? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know what was done, how this was finished in some way. But that hurt the agency and that hurt the Homeland Secretary. So in some way, and then the Lewandowski thing that's out there. Everybody knows that they're having an affair and stuff. And Trump was asked that question. He's like, yeah, I'll look into it. He's not going to do anything. It's like the same people that argue about getting rid of Pam Bondi. Why? Why would you get rid of Pam Bondi? How are you going to replace her? Who are you going to put in there? You think the Senate right now is going to confirm somebody new or anybody else in the administration? So until this election is over, okay, nobody's leaving. Nobody's going anywhere. I'm critical of her for a lot of different reasons, but I could say that this agency is problematic. And I would offer or proffer an idea I hope that we can think about, because how much money goes to this, that we could splinter this agency, cut ties from, pull away the soft underbelly of these agents. The Secret Service has to be on its own. I mean, clearly they have to be on their own. I think that we need to cut and trim the fat of this agency. And it's not her that's the problem. It's the agency in tow.
Going back to Kristi Noem really quick, a protester with a backpack gets removed from DHS Secretary Kristi Noem's Senate Judiciary hearing, which we just looked at. A backpack. DHS Secretary, is there a video? Let's look at this. Are you going to tell me security Oh, Carly got on WLT. Cool. Are you going to tell me security is letting someone with that big pack into a congressional hearing?
Well.
Cities responding to disasters, not ICE. You should be ashamed of yourself. Your staff say abolish ICE. Your staff say abolish ICE. Your staff say abolish ICE.
Wowzers. Could have been anything in there. Could have killed everyone in that room. What is there? Probably
could have been a suicide bomber.
Yeah,
I mean,
could have been. I do see a woman in there with a mask on. Unbelievable. But yeah, it could have been a suicide bomber easily. So true.
Where's the Capitol Police? You don't allow backpacks in congressional hearings, especially with secretaries of the cabinet. You don't do that. They have to leave it out, or they have to be held. I mean, whether they went through something to check it in some way, you still don't allow these types of things to go in there. They can be held, or you can be not allowed to be. So someone allowed her to be in there to act in this way, and it could have been really bad. Could have been. I mean, you got to go through metal detectors. You got to go through all these things inside the Capitol.
Crazy.
But I just think why you're having a backpack, the actual footage of the backpack is problematic itself. Whether there was nothing in it or not, it doesn't matter.
You're absolutely right, brother. I don't know. That is very
Maybe they wanted that
careless
viewpoint. Maybe they wanted that picture of that person who was a former employee of the Department of Homeland Secretary that was removed, that was fired, that was laid off, to be what? To be showcased out there, knowing full well that she was going to act up in some way, and that the backpack was there.
Maybe.
I'm just consider that. I don't know.
Well, we have reached our duration of the show. I hope everyone had a great time. Everyone got the knowledge that they needed today. Brett, thank you so much. You want to help him out, please go to buymeacoffee/WeAreRise. Hit him up and watch the show Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I think he's doing a show Thursday, tomorrow.
I'm doing a show Wednesday and Thursday. Friday I'll be out of town.
Wednesday, Thursday, you can follow him at the WeAreRise show. Hit him up. That is on X, Pilled, YouTube, and on Rumble. So hit him up there. And we appreciate you guys stopping by. Big shout out to Paulie 9363 for that donation. Big shout out to the super chat we got over on YouTube. We're going to need some more of those. Thank you out there to James. I appreciate that very much. And thank you to everybody else who watched over on Rumble. Let me make sure that we didn't no love over there, but that's okay. I just didn't want to miss out on that. Guys, we love you very much. Thanks for tuning in. I want to see all your names back. Keep coming back again and again. We love you guys very much, and just know that in the end, God wins. Take care of yourselves, friends. Be safe out there. Don't go in any big crowds, especially during this time. Take care. Peace.
Good night. Thank you.